Ladies and gentlemen of the old world, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be Bretonnia led by Pope Patty facing off against Martinius and the Warriors of Chaos here, and it is going to be triple Grail Guardian, which is super heavy metal with the Green Knight and the Fey Enchantress, versus a wider Chaos Army, which is going to be utilizing the new and very cost-effective ITP Marauder Bearman. Granted, against Bretonnia, do you really need the ITP? I mean, Lewin and Alberic do exist, so maybe. But it's going to be mass great weapons, including a very Chadley Chosen with great weapons at the back. And these guys have always been very good against Bretonnia, even though they're not halberds, so they can still tear through Bretonnia Knights very, very effectively. So I love the Chosen pick. We have a Sorcerer of Shadows with Melkoth's Pendulum and Tormentor Sword, which is a great choice. And we do also have Dragon Ogres, another choice that's going to be quite good against the Grail Guardian. So this should be a very, very interesting battle, guys. That is a very elite Bretonnian army. Green Knight and the homies going to be trying to get this objective, while Martinius is going to be moving up his Marauder Bearman here. And it looks like the objective one is going to be secured. And now the fighting is going to be starting here in earnest. As in the back, the Pleasure Guard being called out. So we do see the ROR Champions of Slaanesh. Very fun to see high-level players getting their hands on these new toys to see what sort of innovations we can see here. Here's a Melkoth's activated on the Grail Guardians. Grail Guardians do, of course, have, let's see, do they have any sort of resistances? Yeah, they do have the Ward Save, the Blessing of the Lady. And the Fey Enchantress can heal them, of course. Earthblood and Regrowth are both on the table, while the Yeomen continue poking. And I, wonder, are these Grail Guardians going to actually just get in there, the Fey Enchantress, and fight like a nasty blob fight? Oh, off-map Steel Chair Trebuchets. So the Blessed Trebuchet is going to be shooting into the Marauder Bearman. Definitely want to target the Chosen. Those would be the ideal threats. While the Green Knight is getting hunted down by the Pleasure Guard. Look at that. Pleasure Guard do magic damage, and Green Knight does not want any of that smoke. So that is a very clever tech against the Green Knight. Solid magic damage characters, who of course are anti-infantry, but they still have high melee attacks, so it doesn't really matter too much. And the Trebuchets are going to continue bombarding, while the Melkoths are going to be in full effect here. Bombard's coming in, Marauder Bearman going to be taking some casualties, nothing terribly substantial, while the Grail Guardians not in the happiest position. They haven't lost any models yet, so this would be a very good time for a Fey Enchantress regrowth before they do actually lose models. But that objective is going to be flipping, and it's going to be hard to outmaneuver this Chaos Army. They do have the Marauder Horsemen to counter a little bit. Marauder Bearman could also detach and guard Objective 1. And they do have great weapons and pretty high melee attacks, so they can trade into the Grail Guardians, although the Guardians will beat them down, of course. But yeah, it's going to be the first regrowth right there. So that is going to be active on the Grail Guardians, which is basically going to top them off since they haven't lost any models. So very good and very juicy. Coming in are Spearmen at Arms and a Grail Relique and Spearmen at Arms. So I think that not Martinius, but Pope Patty has realized he's not going to be able to just straight up break these lines. With the Dragon Ogres, the Chosen, Marauder Horsemen in reserve, having a Tormentor Sword on the table as well from the Chaos Sorcerer Lord is incredibly good. So Bretonnia is going to have to slow roll this a little bit, use their Trebuchets to bombard, and just go in for a big consolidated push at some point. So we do a little bit of fast forwarding while they do that. Both players are going to be gathering their elements, as the Yeoman Archer is going to be poking into the Horseman a little bit, and the Trebuchet is not doing a bad job. I thought we were going to get an attack there, but it looks like the poking does continue. And here comes ye old Questing Knights. So it's going to be Questing Knights and more Peasant Mobs, setting up the Grail Relique Death Star, giving 70 leadership here on these Spearmen. Not bad, and ITP as well. So going to be quite effective. Pleasure Guard sitting at a decent amount of health, and we do see the Mounted Yeomans, the Wards and Montfort poking in where they can. Points obviously favoring the Warriors of Chaos at this point, but Bretonnia is going to have to move in and fight at some point, because this is domination mode, and they will need to get that point, or else they will lose the game. Poking continues here as the Yeoman Archers do continue their bump and grind, and now Bretonnia is going to be going for it, full tilt. As they do pop up on the objective, they get the capture weight, and they are going to be trying to wrestle that. And the Warriors of Chaos are tired. They've had enough. They're going to move in. Chosen going to start massacring, but the Fey Enchantress Mortis Engine will be very good against them. And also, she probably has Chalice of Potions. She does. So she's going to be able to drop basically a combative Cassandora on their head. So Spearmen at Arms and company moving in. Chosen going to be clashing with the warp underneath them, which definitely is not fun. And you can see peasants getting massacred by Chosen, but they do not stand alone. The Knights of Bretonnia will be your shield as the Grail Guardians do move in, looking very, very epic in the process. Fey Enchantress draining these Chosen down, and honestly pretty good out of the gates. But a pendulum response going to be coming in from the Forces of Chaos. The Sorcerer there, very, very good stuff. All Dragon Ogres and Rot Knights. Okay, he's got the big old anti-large fight going down. And the Questing Knights trying to get on top of the Pleasure Guard. Not a bad engagement. The Questing Knights will, of course, do some decent armor-piercing damage against them, while the Trebuchets are also shooting into the Pleasure Guard as well. So big, disgusting fight here. Fey Enchantress is in the danger zone, though. She's a little bit too far in the front line and is taking a lot of hits from the Chosen here. Of course, she does have healing, And we do see the Warriors of Chaos pulling ahead a little bit on the table here, but there is going to be a Chalice of Potions, and that's going to hit the Rot Knights as well as these Chaos Warriors and some Chosen, if I'm not mistaken. Although they're not really over there, so it's mainly going to be hitting the Rot Knights. And there it goes, doing some considerable damage. And it does have the Monster's Impact now, which slows their speed by quite a bit. And the Fey Enchantress is trapped, being attacked by Rot Knights. The Dragon Ogres are also in the mix as well. So going to be very sketchy as the Bretonnian Grail Guardians, they're going to need to protect the lady. She does have some help from some, look at that, the Cowardly Knights fleeing while the Chad Peasantry stays to fight with the lady. That is the true heart and soul of Bretonnia right there. Look at these guys. The Knights left and they're just sitting there with their gardening tools fighting Chosen and Dragon Ogres. You gotta love it. But the Fey Enchantress, I'm sure will get some help as some of the Grail Guardians do charge back in there. A couple of them are going to be lurking in the back. But I would imagine the Fae is going to be trying to escape, and you can see the movement order is being given right there, and they are being fled off the scene. Alright guys, so the Blessed Field Trebuchet going to be shooting into the Marauder Bearmen, and in the meantime we do see the Spearmen at Arms, and the Peasant mobs there duking it out, but Chaos is managing to hold the ground. However, the value is kind of close. Pope Patty is only down by about 500 value, and he has gotten some fat healing, and the Mortis Engine of the Fae has got to be cooking a little bit. She's probably over 1,000 value already. Green Knight trying to get to the Chaos Lord, so you can see the Green Knight maneuvering through the backfield trying to get to the Chaos Sorcerer, but is surrounded by the Rot Knights. Now, regular Rot Knights don't have magic damage, the RORs do, but even still, they do have anti-large attacks, and will be able to grind down the Green Knight relatively effectively, but it is going to take some time. Coming in the back, the Questing Knights probably need to be unsummoned, and we do see some Yeomen who are going to be chasing down the horse throwing axes here. Going to be trying to nail those guys down. Somehow the Fey Enchantress endures, and some of the Grail Guardians are still very much in the fight. Bile Trolls being mixed in by Martinius. You would think that Chaos would be able to grind through this, but you can never underestimate the Grail Relic Death Stars with the Fey Enchantress supporting. It's a classic old strategy back from the forbidden days of Warhammer 2 there. So here comes the chase. The Yeoman going to be hunting down the Marauder Horsemen, and more Dragon Ogres being called in. The Green Knight just cannot escape his pen here. He's really, really locked up. But the cheap Spearmen at Arms, prison shanking down the Bile Trolls over time, and the Spearmen and Grail Guardians kind of teamed up with one another, are going to be able to poke down the Dragon Ogres as well. Those little spears, not a lot of damage in them, but over time they do grind, and, Grail Guardians are kind of a generalist cav unit, so they can do well against most threats, and with infantry support and a Grail Relic helping them out, that's going to be very, very nice. So the Fey Enchantress does escape, which is very clutch. Grail Guardians and Grail Guardians here are starting to chew through the Marauder Bearmen, and I mean the Green Knight is cheaper or around the same price as the Rot Knights, so occupying those Rot Knights there isn't terrible. And it looks like a Chalice of Potions coming down does nail both Bearmen, not bad at all, as Foot Squires and all the goodies are coming. And man, we saw that in the last Creative Assembly official event, how Bretonnia was such a common pick at a high-level tournament. It seems like they've certainly gotten back in the menu as people have learned how to play them, which is great. They're doing good these days. So back here, the Yeoman Archers going to get massacred by the Dragon Ogres and the Hellstriders, and the Green Knight getting a little bit low. Green Knight's going to need some rescuing. I don't know if he's going to be able to escape. The Rot Knights just have really good mass here. I mean, their individual mass is 1,500, so that's a lot. These guys are thick, which, Nurgle units should be, typically speaking. So the Green Knight, unbreakable and still surrounded. Fey Enchantress going to be grinding all these units down with her Mortis. I'm guessing right now 1,800 value. Oh man, I was off. 2,400. Okay, I don't still got it. I've lost it. Foot Squires on their way in. Foot Squires will be excellent against these Chaos Warriors. Not that Chaos Warriors are trade well back into them, but they're obviously tattered, and the Foot Squires are quite healthy here. And the Champions of Slaanesh, the Pleasure Guard, getting about 1,100 value before going into the trash can. And the Sons and Daughters of the Lady, hearing no bell, man. Those Grail Guardians in there grinding in the pits, 800 value, but they are getting the leadership buff. Foot Squires is going to be turning the tide of this pit fight here, but if you look, Martinius does have the points advantage. He's going to be approaching 1,200 now, so it could be a situation where Bretonnia is going to need to get to the back objective here. It's going to be a very, very close one. A couple units do rally over here. The peasants, oh man, if Martinius lets his back objective get captured by a couple of haggard peasants, he could for sure lose this game. It could be very, very scary. All right, Rot Knights and Dragon Ogres moving in, and it looks like the Knights of the Realm on the flank do get taken down, but now Bretonnia has a really good infantry core, which is going to be pretty sustainable with the support of the Fey Enchantress, who is approaching 3,000 value here. She's just been Mortis Engineering and Chalice of Potions, just tons of, she actually puts out a lot of damage, a very, very good DPS character. Questing Knight's going to be heading to the back point, most likely will be intercepted, and oh look, he got out! The Green Knight escaped his cage! He's back in business, baby. So the Green Knight has gotten out, going to be tormented for another second, but now can keep hunting that Sorcerer, and that's really sketchy for Martinius. We're going to see if Pope Patty notices he is free, and he does, and he moves the Green Knight into the Rot Knights. Considering the reinforcements of Questing Knights coming in, not terrible, because if he survives, absorbs that damage, allows the Questing Knights to get the square charge, could be very good. So the Lady wills it as the Knights of Bretonnia get in on these rotten Nurgle Knights, and they will be able to drag down some of them for sure, as they have excellent AP values. Dragon Ogre is going to be moving back here. A couple spears heading into the back objective. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, as it currently stands, Martinius would win on just one objective, but is he going to be able to hold it? I mean, certainly possible. He does have several units of Dragon Ogres, his Sorcerer, but there are a lot of Bretonnians on the middle, guys. And over here on the backside, we see Martinius with a little bit of a threat. This is a great play. Just sending some Hellstriders back here, forcing the Bretonnians to respect this. And I would imagine that Pope, is he saving up? He's got 1,900. What is he saving up for? Hippogriff Knights to try and close the game out? Man, look at the Grail Guardians. Only like a handful of them able to defeat the Hellstriders and save the game here, basically. Very, very clutch. So back here, Bretonnia is in the process of flipping the objective. Questing Knights fighting tooth and nail as the Green Knight and a couple Spearmen are trying to capture that point. A bit of a mistake here by Pope not going for the back point. Because he does need it to win the game. I think he's going to realize that. He should have had all his forces kind of marching back there, but we will see if that comes back to bite him. Nothing crazy going down back here, as we do see Bile Trolls lurking, and they're probably going to be run down by some Knights of the Realm. A couple unsummons going down right here, while the Green Knight going to be fighting to the bitter end and going back to whatever beyond he is from. But yeah, he's got 13 HP here. So as soon as one of the dragons bops him on the head, the Green Knight is going to be going down here most likely. So there he goes. Farewell, Green Knight. You had a good run. The Dragon Ogres, the RORs, the Summoners of Rage, do magic damage. And I don't know if Pope did the math here. He might have done the math a little bit wrong, or maybe I did. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure we were right about that. So the Bretonnian's going to be sitting here and realizing that they do need another point. They did not capture this one. So the Puppets of Misrule, which I think, is that what they are? I think that's what this banner is. One of those cool kind of sub-factions there. Trebuchet still shooting in, and we do see the Fey Enchantress waiting in the back as the Knights of the Realm are going to be on their way over. Maybe he was waiting for the Knights of the Realm to make his charge. He does have a bit of time, but not as much as you would think. Martinius is going to be approaching 1,400 points here. On the backside, the Blessed Field Trebuchets are shooting very effectively into the Marauder Horsemen, actually, while we do see the Pleasure Guard being called back out. Got about 1,100 in their first life. Pleasure Guard will be a hard counter against Foot Squires, though, so that is pretty clean. Moving up, our Marauder Bearmen. Couple Grail Guardians going to move in and try and help out with the Bearmen, while we do see the Knights of the Realm on the flank going after the Pleasure Guard, as well as these Horsemen getting a very good engagement. So the Pleasure Guard might actually take some considerable damage. Head-to-head, Pleasure Guard probably win, especially with Dragon Ogres coming into support. That's going to be a little bit of overkill. But yeah, man, he's got to advance up. I don't know if he's going to. It's looking real sketchy, man. As we do see the Bretonnian Knights, of course, having a decent fight here, but just being straight outgunned by a Dragon Ogre, and that's like 4,000, 5,000 gold versus like 800 or something. So they're going to lose that fight. Fey Enchantress and her crew going to be poking here. And yeah, the Bretonnians continuing to hold here. Maybe I looked at the score wrong earlier. Ooh, man. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be dodgy. On the backside, the Hellstriders of Slaanesh are going to be coming in here. Yeah, so he's going to be at 1,400, and he should just win on the one objective. Oh, but Bretonnia had a plan. Maybe lull them into a false sense of confidence and go for the back cap using a couple mounted yeomen and some questing knights on the hill and Grail Guardians. Okay, that's how he does it. Okay. So maybe, was that all planned by Pope Patty to play possum like that? Make his opponent think? Because otherwise, you know, the correct play would have been for Martinius to just sit his whole army back here probably, or maybe run a little bit of interference, but, you know, definitely not let this happen. And yeah, now the Pleasure Guard are, of course, grinding in the middle. The back objective caps, so Martinius going to be going for it. And we are going to be seeing Knights of the Realm as well as Yeomen piling in to try and fight these guys. But that objective is very, very possible to flip, as Bretonnia does steal the home objective of Chaos. But if Chaos gets this objective quick enough, they're going to be very comfortable here. But that is going to be a triple cap for Bretonnia for a couple seconds. And is that going to be long enough to get them within striking range? Oh boy, look at that. So that objective is in the process of flipping. Grail Guardians coming in, but the Dragon Ogres and the Hellstriders do have the capture weight. But he is getting those points, guys. He is getting them right now. Green Knight is on his way back in. Fey Enchantress is going to be heading over there as well. Both players making little mistakes here in the late game, which might cost them. But here comes the Fey and the Green Knight as well. But the Fey Enchantress will lose in combat, probably to that Chaos Sorcerer Lord, considering she's very tattered. Green Knight going to be trying to wrestle that point. But, oh my god, with this, guys, Pope Patty wins on 2 points. Just by like a sliver, dude. Okay, he held the triple cap just long enough to get the dub. But is he going to be able to continue to hold? Most likely so. He's got Yeoman here, a couple basic horsemen, Yeoman archers. Grail Guardian's going to be coming back in. He does have that pocket on the center unlocked very effectively. Green Knight going to want to rotate over here as well. And he's going to be passing Martinius in points here in a second. Marauder Bearmen going to be surging up towards the objective as the mounted Yeoman do break. and he is going to be passing him soon. Are the forces of Norska, so many Bearmen, of the Warriors of Chaos, are they going to be able to get objective 1? We do see Yeoman Archers, the Wardens of Montfort coming. These guys need to get on the objective. Pope Patty needs to move on the point. Every second matters in a situation like this, but he might get lucky and just it might not matter because in the middle he's holding, and we do see him win by the hair of his chinny chin chin. Wow, what a game. Knights of the Flame pulling it out. Looking at the builds, I would not have thought the Grail Guardian build was going to win. I was like Dragon Ogres, Rot Knights, Melkoths, Great Weapon Infantry, but he somehow pulled it out. And how he won largely was, of course, Fey Enchantress, number 1, and number 2 was his patience. He didn't blitz in right away like I would have. He waited back, got his big blob together, and then pushed in and had the fight he was looking for. So Fey with 3,100, Green Knight did okay. Grail Guardians, they performed. Nothing too crazy. They were fighting a lot of counters. The Trebuchet certainly did very good. 2,500 value on that Trebuchet. God damn, that is good. All right, Bretonnian Artillery OP. Well played to both players. Really fun to see the Pleasure Guard, but the Pleasure Guard probably not as good as like a Rot Knight or something, although they did get 2,700, so hard to say. All right, folks, see you around. Take care of yourselves. That's going to be it for today. Very, very fun replay between Pope Patty and Martinius, and we'll see you guys in the next tournament.